Joe, man, there's a weird transmission error in your.
I got very horny from him. I literally felt like he was like shaking his butt at that.
Did you say you got very horny from him?
That's really very horny.
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, the show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about The New Addams Family. The New Addams Family went 65 episodes with one season on Fox Family. Today we're talking about episode 1, which is Halloween with the Addams Family, originally airing October 19th, 1998. So to get things started, I'm Jake Gaggs. With me as always, the boys, Nick, Joe, Ferg, and Goro. Happy Halloween, guys.
Ooh.
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween. Snap, snap. Guys, is this the first Fox Family show I've ever done that did a BDSM joke in the first 2 minutes of the episode? Because
Be the first Fox Family show we did in general.
okay, is this the first any family show we did that had a BDSM joke in the first 2 minutes?
Right when I halfway through the episode, I was like, Joe is not going to be able to get over how sexually driven Morticia and
Gomez?
Gomez are.
This is weirdly sexual driven, and you were correct. And also, all I could think of was Gomez Addams here has the worst not Gomez Addams mustache of all time.
It needs to be thinner.
Before, he's already converted over. I was going to say, before Ferg completely overheats, I wanted to acknowledge that he's completely dressed up like the Green Ranger, R.I.P. Tommy Oliver.
One of the many dead Power Rangers of our youth.
That's a little extreme.
Is that dark? A bunch of Power Rangers died. I'm not trying to be weird about it.
No,
man.
we lost Trini early on.
Didn't Billy go to jail?
Billy.
No.
I think isn't Billy dead?
No, he just did a new Power Rangers movie on Netflix. It's basically just him and Zach and a girl who's pretending to be Trini's daughter. It's fine. They wanted to do like a reunion movie without anybody in it, which made it very difficult. But we're not here to talk about Power Rangers right now. But Ferg, do you want to clue people in how that links to this?
Well, Power Rangers is made by Saban, and this show is also made by Saban. That's basically the connection.
What an interesting crossover episode that could have been too.
They also made the Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation.
Not for nothing, as I think about it now, this is a Halloween episode of the Addams Family, the New Addams Family, and they had trick-or-treaters. They could have easily had a kid dressed up like a Power Ranger as a little wink.
I'm actually surprised they didn't.
And Baron Abramovich, the guy who does all the music for this, he did all the music for Power Rangers, the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, and also Camp Candy, which I forgot all about until today, the John Candy cartoon. That's a serious contender when we do our animation month.
So, the New Addams Family, as opposed to the original one from, was it 1962 or 1964?
4.
But regardless of that, this is the 1998 New Addams Family. I do remember it. I wouldn't say I have like a lot of memory of specific storylines or things like that, but I remember watching it for a while when it was on. How about you guys? I didn't remember it had 65 episodes or anything like that.
It's funny it had 65 episodes. That's one episode more than the original show, which was 64.
Oh, wow.
Also, the fact that it's one season. It's one season, 65 episodes. And that's all formatting and how you run stuff, but it's just weird to see it like that.
Only a season and a half came out.
I don't remember it at all, personally.
I remember it existing. We would have been about 13 when this came out. But what I remember most is that it was in succession to the Addams Family reunion movie.
They came out the same year.
They were a month apart.
That was originally supposed to be what led to the show. That was supposed to be the jumping off point. But they hired two different creative teams, and they were just too different that they decided to just do their own thing.
Was that Addams Family Values?
No. This is years later. This is Addams Family Reunion. It was a direct-to-video movie. Tim Curry takes over for Raul Julia had passed away. And then it's an all different cast from the other Addams Family movies. And then all different cast from this, except for Wednesday. And I will say this, as a person who loves the Addams Family movies, and as a person who loves Tim Curry, I looked for a long time for a VHS copy of Addams Family Reunion.
It was never put out.
No, it was on VHS, but this is the only way you could see it. There's no digital. It was, I think, maybe even a UK VHS, but I found one in an antique mall once, and I was like, Kelsey, I found it. We can finally watch Addams Family Reunion. And we watched Addams Family. They watched Addams Family Values. We're like, man, this has been the best 4 hours of my entire life. And then we put on Addams Family Reunion. And the last memory I have of that movie is we were moving out of state, and I'm pulling stuff to get rid of for the Goodwill box, and I picked up Addams Family Reunion. It was like, I looked for you for so long. And to hell with you, Addams Family Reunion. Never would have watched it again. It was really, really bad, even though there were some great people in it.
I would say that it would have been funny if you put it in and it was like a child's birthday party.
Oh, it was a kid named Adam's birthday.
Yeah, the Addams Family birthday party.
It was the Addams Family Reunion. It was like, oh, hey, everybody.
So, if I understand your story correctly, you found this movie and you then sat down with your wife and you watched 3 movies in a row?
Yeah, you don't do ever movie marathons ever?
No.
No, I don't have the patience to sit down.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane. That's, okay, first of all,
I think what you did is insane.
look, it's okay. So picture this: Sicily, 1940. It's a Saturday. It's snowy. It's miserable out. You're with your significant other, and you've got 12 hours all day. And one of them, and you go, "Hey, let's watch all of the Jason movies, or all of the Freddy movies, or all of the Fast and Furious movies."
Nope.
We've done that at my house.
Right? Yeah, we've done that with Ferg before. We've rented movies, ordered pizza from Crest Ave, and watched like 4 movies in a row of a series. It's an amazingly fun thing to do to watch.
But I
them
think
in
when you do
succession.
that in a big group, you ultimately start socializing more, and it's like just being focused on the television doesn't become like the main priority.
I mean, I think it's fun to do, but I'm also speaking of movies that everyone in the group of watching them at the time, including us, like my wife and I, had seen before, right? Except for that one, right? But like you have to build up. I want to watch the first 2 before we watch the third. But, you know, you're paying less attention at that point because you've seen those 2 and you're talking about them. Like, I know every line of Addams Family Values back and forth.
Was Addams Family Reunion made? I know it was like separate like rights because it was like the straight to like home video. But was it made as if it was the 3rd installment?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not good. Which is a shame because Addams Family Values, I think, is one of the funniest, like, family-ish movies from the 90s.
Yes, it's up there as one of the greatest movies of that era. I might have told this story here, but my family went to Maine, Moosehead Lake, Maine, when I was like 7 or 8, and they had
That's
a
way up
television. It is way up there, and we got a cabin, and we had a television that the cable box broke, and it had a VHS player. And we all forgot to bring videos to watch. So the only video that was there was Addams Family Values. And we watched that
Could have done way worse.
repeat. Exactly. But we watched that on repeat for literally a week.
I don't blame you, though. That's a great movie.
It is a great
As
movie.
a kid, I would have been able to do that. As a parent, I imagine that getting tedious, though. I imagine your mom at one point being like, "Can we please just go find a Blockbuster? What are we doing?"
Like, that cast is so good. Rural Julia.
Yep.
It's funny, actually. I was up in the Moosehead Lake area a few years ago. A friend of ours has a cabin that we go to sometimes. And the gas stations in the area still sell. There's 2 gas stations, like, or just convenience stores, really, that still sold, you know, DVDs and VHSs. And the second one, I was like, why are these everywhere? Like the VHSs and DVDs, like who's buying them? And then I realized that's what it is. Like there's houses up there that are just so off the grid that all they have is a VCR or a DVD player. So when the people are up there and they're shopping and they see these DVDs and VHSs, they're like, oh, you know, I might as well add it to the collection for something to watch up here.
And a way to keep the kids quiet, too. You know, if you're like, we're going to have dinner and a few drinks, and the kids are on the couch, you want to keep them quiet while you can be in the room, you know?
I know it was like years ago, so it was before like streaming became such a thing, or was a thing, period, actually. But years ago when we'd go up to those parts, you'd go to the supermarkets. In the supermarkets, you could rent movies from, and that blew my mind.
From the customer service kiosk, yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. As we cover another Addams Family show, we had done the original show 2 years ago. So to do this one now, it's interesting because there's like the Addams Family and the Munsters, I think, are the 2 classic horror family friendly things that like will exist forever. But the Addams Family has so much more stuff out there than the Munsters.
It won't die. I watched I think we talked about it a couple years ago.
I die.
But I die. Speaking of which, but I watched the newest CGI-ish whatever movie with my niece and nephew recently, or like a year ago or whatever. It's like they're just gonna keep doing this.
And now Wednesday was like a huge hit for Netflix.
Yeah, Wednesday was huge.
Which I still haven't seen.
I haven't either, but I also feel like it's not for us.
I liked it in real time, and now I'm looking back, I'm like, I don't know if I like that show.
It's funny, she just started it today, actually, and I was watching it in the background. It's almost got a like a Harry Potter vibe to it.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Like a tween, I guess, age group.
Yeah, I feel like what I like about the Addams Family, and obviously we're going to talk about this as we talk about this episode, and, we've covered the old one. It's that fun vibe that goes along. It's that mixture of family friendly with spooky and the slapstick stuff.
And overtly sexual tones.
Yes, and of course. But no, and then I've only seen clips from Wednesday and just what I do know about it.
We know you've seen the dance.
I've definitely seen the dance. But it's very dark in nature and not in the fun way. So it's just, I don't know if they're using the property of the Addams Family, the intellectual property, but it just feels like it's not the Addams Family.
I know it's not for me, but it feels also like it's a bit too modern Tim Burton-y for me. Does that make sense?
Okay, I can see that.
Where everything Tim Burton now is like, oh, I love that movie about Batman or Ed Wood, and now he's like, the tree is spooky and chocolate's evil. And you're like, I fucking can't stand anything you do anymore, man. I hate it. I'm sorry.
Did Tim Burton do the new Willy Wonka with Johnny Depp?
He did.
You can't tell just by looking at that.
Yeah, anything Johnny Depp has done.
You couldn't tell by the fact that Johnny Depp was in it.
Although my favorite Johnny Depp movie was that one that was it was a streaming series from last year where you found out that he only drank mega pints of wine and his wife shit in his bed. I watched that series for 2 weeks live and it was amazing.
It was a Yorkie.
It was his court trial. Wagga, wagga, wagga. That was not a Yorkie. That was the joke. That was a herd poop.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the dog that got stung by a bee.
I hurt my knee.
Yeah. So, all right, so let's get into the episode itself. And actually, before I do that, never mind. Just want to go over a couple things real quick. On our social medias, S1E1 Pod is where you can find us on Instagram and X, formerly Twitter. S1E1pod.com has all the links where you can listen to us. Shoot us a message. We actually got a few messages over the last couple days between Instagram, email. They're all great, and, we try to reply to everything as soon as we can. So thank you for all that. We want you guys to continue to do so. And I mentioned this to you guys privately before. I want to do something to kind of inspire a few more reviews because those do help us a lot. So if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple or anything really, Spotify has one too, but I don't think you can leave a comment. Prove that you leave us a nice review. Send it to us on any of our socials or email it to us. We'll follow you back on any social media you want. Just as a thank you, and then we can kind of interact a little bit more that way.
If the review's really good, we've got some fun things we can send you.
Yeah, we want to get back into that. We've done some care packages in the past. Want to do a little bit more of that stuff as well. IMDb rated this is a 6.4 overall as a show. Rotten Tomatoes didn't have anything as far as user review or critic score. So yeah, 6.4 is not a phenomenal rating, but I guess we'll dive into it as we talk about the episode. So the actual intro starts with, you hear Gomez doing the narration of a modified version of The Night Before Christmas, only it's kind of a Addams Family Halloween themed version. And it's kind of being used as a vehicle to show us the house and all the family. I don't know. I don't quite understand why they did this, the Night Before Christmas thing.
I will say it's no worse than the end of Addams Family Values with the whoop, the Addams Family, there it is.
Hey,
rap song.
You stop it.
I would rather that than what we got in this episode.
There are multiple Addams Family rap songs that came out on record in the UK only. Listener Jeff, if he's listening, I actually found in a antique mall once one of the off-brand Addams Family rap 7-inches and bought it for him. I was like, this is gonna be so bad, and you're gonna hate it so much.
And did he love it?
Oh no, he did not like it. It's not good.
I mean, it sounds great. Yeah, no, I just can't get my head around the Christmas thing. And I was like, I went back and looked at when the episode came out. I was like, are they doing doing a backwards thing. Like maybe this came out in December, so they were trying to do like a.
They're the Addams Family, and it's Halloween. Halloween to them is Christmas.
I get it, but
Ferg and Jay, I'm with you, and I'm totally there until Santa Claus shows up, and then the
yes,
whole
exactly.
fucking plot is lost. Okay,
Yeah, and they kill him.
Yeah, great, I get it, but why is Santa there on Halloween Eve?
Because they're all dressed up, and somebody must have dressed as Santa, because that's scary.
No, that was the real Santa, and they fucking killed him, and how fucking dare they?
Guys, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, the worst movie ever made by any human being in the world? Let's not talk about that.
Be careful, that has a giant fan
I know you
base.
probably half the fan base that's listening to this is probably upset
Pardon
with you
me,
right now.
Joe Only from the S1E1 podcast.
Joe Only, who hates those of you who work retail jobs.
I've worked retail my whole life. Stop doing that.
White collar Joe hates blue collar America.
I'm so white collar. Guys, I'm colorblind.
You know
okay?
what? Yeah, I'm colorblind. I don't even see that. No, I just I don't know. The Christmas thing is weird. I don't think the Nightmare Before Christmas comparison works because that is designed to be like a mixture of the two. Like that's the whole point of
I'm
the
just
story.
gonna say it. That is a Christmas movie. It's the Nightmare Before Christmas. It's not a Halloween movie.
When did The Nightmare Before Christmas come out? Does anybody know? Because it could be roundabouts this time, and maybe
It feels like it's probably around this time. I literally hate that movie enough that I didn't want to look it up. I don't want that algorithm on my phone.
It was 1993 when that came out.
What was this, 94?
98.
98.
Oh, okay.
Also, just to remind you, back when Jay said ran from 1998 to 1999 for 65 episodes.
Yeah, Joe, why? I mean, what about that movie like rubs you the wrong way so much?
Because it's popular.
It's not. I like plenty of popular things. I just talked to you about how great it is to watch all of the Fast and Furious movies. I mentioned Addams Family Values. These are very popular things.
There's an exception to every rule.
I hate Jack Skellington almost more than any character. That movie, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. It's not funny. It's not interesting. And people glom onto it like it's their whole personality, and that weirds me out.
What makes you uncomfortable about The Nightmare Before Christmas?
I have so many like birthday and Christmas gift ideas now. Like just instantly popped into
I fucking hate you. That's not fair, because I won't throw away something somebody gives to me out of genuine either hate or love, and that means I'm going to have like a crate.
You won't throw away anything anyway.
I throw plenty of things away.
I'm gonna start mailing you life-size teddy bears every month.
You know what? I will take that for the cost that's going to cost you. It's worth it to keep them in the attic.
I know it'd be cheaper to just drive it to your house at that point.
Yeah.
All right, so let's actually get into it. Past that, we start seeing again. We meet all the characters in this intro as well, and you're just getting kind of weird little look how eccentric and crazy this family is. If you're not already familiar with the Addams Family.
Is the Grim Reaper a character in the TV show? I don't remember, because he's not in the movies, and he's like a big part of the house here. Because they give him his shine here.
He's used in the intro and he's used later in the episode. I don't know if he's a cast member. But I did like, so we see Fester hanging like a bat. We have Mama who's like in the electric chair. Pugsley's getting dragged under his bed by that fucking weak bitch Freddy Krueger, I assume.
He doesn't hang out under beds.
well, Wednesday's asleep. I liked, you see Lurch and Thing are asleep and they're like in like caskets outside.
Thing's got little pajamas on.
And Thing has a little sleep mask, like where like the wrist area is, which like somehow turns a hand into an actual person by giving the little sleep mask.
So the guy that plays Lurch in this is, I forget his name, but he was in 13 Ghosts. He played the Juggernaut, the big giant like ghost in that movie. That,
Oh,
like,
wow. Yeah, I
breaks
know
everyone
exactly
in-
who you're talking about, weirdly enough.
That guy has a very interesting IMDb where it's just like, big guy. You're like, good for you, man. Like, because that's a career, right? You make money doing that.
And all you gotta do to play Lurch is be big. The rest is just put on Frankenstein.
It's not like a thespian role, you know what I mean? But it's great. He does a good job on this.
And it kind of ends off after we meet the whole family. We see Gomez in bed reading that book.
And then they fuck.
And, well, no, and then it's him and Morticia like outside of the bed in front of the window.
Personally, I think this scene would have worked better at the end. Have him close the book, end of the episode.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
I
with
agree
that.
with you.
I also think you could have saved this for when you did a Christmas episode.
Also true. I also think you could have shaved his mustache to look like Gomez's mustache. That's a weird thing for you to say. I wasn't saying that at all.
I thought that's where you were going.
It's like 10 minutes into the episode. I think Gomez would look better if he had a Charlie Chaplin vibe going on. No, I just feel like, look, Gomez Addams has a very specific mustache. There are very specific mustaches in history. Charles Bronson has a very specific mustache. Gomez has a specific one. Who's the artist I'm thinking of, the big curly one?
Salvatore Dali.
Dali, thank you. Very specific mustache. So if you all of a sudden had Salvatore Dali with Mr. Ernst mustache, that doesn't make sense to me. I think this guy's a good Gomez. I just think his mustache is wrong.
Has anyone, I mean, since Ferg already brought up Hitler, has anybody ruined a specific hair or facial hairstyle forever for the end of time like Hitler did with that mustache?
And it's because that is so grossly specific, that mustache.
It's very specific.
It's dead center, your face. It's typically black. Like there's nothing that stands out more.
I feel like that, like everything would have made some weird comeback at some point.
Yeah, the Chaplin, like.
Yeah, but he killed it forever.
I mean, like the Third Reich hairstyle has come back recently, right? That like short on the sides, parted over Hitler haircut is very popular. If that mustache was something else, if that was just Chaplin, you better believe you'd see hipsters with that mustache.
Oh, 1,000%.
You know, you never even see like even people who are like openly like neo-Nazis. They don't even do the mustache.
There's always one guy. No, my favorite scene in all of any movie that cuts to Nazis. So, like, for example, oh God, what's the fucking
Muppet Babies?
American History X, right? The American History X.
Muppet Babies.
Muppet Babies does show the Nazis a lot, but American History X, right? They're at the concert scene, and there's just a bunch of like skinheads punching each other and dancing around, and then the camera pans really slowly, and there's just like a waifish dude in a full Hitler uniform with Hitler haircut and Hitler mustache, but he looks like he's 19 and a half, and you're like, who cast the Hitler in this? It makes me laugh every single time I see that movie, where it's like, you couldn't have gotten a guy who didn't look any more threatening than this to be Hitler?
They should have got John Lovett.
Speaking of which, do you know what we're gonna go talk about here? Do you know who Pugsley is in this movie?
I do not.
No.
Oh, he's the son from Rat Race?
Yes, Pugsley is John Lovett's son from Rat Race.
He looked familiar. I didn't make that connection.
Don't play Hitler's harmonica.
You're driving his harmonica.
Car. I'm glad we were able to round out that conversation so we didn't have to bring up Hitler 2 different times. I'm glad we could get it all full circle.
It's good that it's circled. It's good that it's circled.
Let's get into the show's theme song. So they didn't go with the classic. They went with their own thing, which is fine. I think
I'm
it
sorry,
is fine.
it's been stuck in my head all day, so it works.
It sucked.
It's got like a Latin flair to it.
It's like
right?
a cha-cha version. Yeah,
did not like that.
No.
I don't know. Maybe it's because of what I was expecting versus what I got.
Right. Well, that's the thing. When the other one is so iconic, it's very tough to do your own. But I think for what it's worth, it's fine. Because
no, it's not.
At least it's not "We're the Monsters."
Oh, it's way better than the new Monsters song.
Think about this. Like that. Actually, not like that. Think about how many times there is an iconic theme, and then it just gets remade, and the new version is shitty because you're comparing it to the old version anyways. So you're not going to make anyone happy doing a renewed version. So you might as well try to do your own thing.
I'm with Jay on this one. I hated the Fuller House song.
No, I hated the Saved by the Bell one.
I hated that one too, yeah.
No, it's not allowed. You agree with me.
Yeah, no, you will hate mine more. But that's the thing, so people are going to be mad either way. So instead of doing a remake, try to do something different and be unique, I guess.
And make them mad at that.
And I don't think, again, I think it's because the other one's so iconic, but I don't think this is that bad. It's just not what you expected to hear.
It would have been fine if it was a brand new show.
I will say this. When we decided to do this show, the one thing I remembered was its theme song. So it stayed with me since 1998. It was effective in that way.
Welcome to the Addams Family.
Oh, you do the Addams Family.
I honestly do remember the Fox Family commercials for this.
Snap.
Yeah, snap, snap. They say snap, snap. They actually snap and say snap at the same time. Fuck you. You can't do that. Sing, sing. Like, no, it's not how this works.
From there, we get to that first scene, and it's an alarm clock goes off in the morning. Gomez jumps out of bed. He's super excited for Halloween. There's a little bit of dialogue between him and Morticia. One thing that flagged to me super, super early as they're talking is...
His mustache?
No, not the mustache. Morticia doesn't give off, like, that same seductive vibe. She's playing the same character. She's doing the same type of like the scripts are similar, right? They're still supposed to be like sexually driven, but the actress playing her doesn't have that same seductive vibe that all the past Morticias have had.
She plays it more subtle, for sure. It's a different thing. They're still very sexual, but now it's all landed on Gomez.
Yeah.
And then, but even Gomez, like Glenn Taranto, he's doing like a very straight up John Astin impression. Like his voice, like the way he pronounces things, it is exactly like that's. And he, to his own admitting.
On the show, since you brought up John Astin, there's a character called Grandpapa. And that's played by John Astin.
I did see that
he's basically the
like
older version of Gomez. Like first time he walks through the door, they even play the like the original theme song as he comes through and stuff, and he plays with the trains. It was
my question to you though is, does it make more sense for him to do John Astin or do Raul Julia?
I think John Astin makes more sense because this show is more a throwback.
I like Raul Julia more, but I think John Astin makes more sense, yeah.
For what they're doing with this type of show, and they're going back to that sitcom style, I think it makes sense. Now, there is like little flair of that movie style Gomez that comes in at points, you know what I mean? There is a little bit of that Mia Moore that comes, once in a while in these episodes. But he is being John Astin to a T, to the point where, like, close your eyes, and at times just the way he's speaking is identical. But because of between that and the girl playing Morticia, I'm sorry I don't have her name pulled up right now.
Ellie Harvey.
Okay, they're both fine, but they both come off as just like play actors who are just doing like impersonations of these characters.
Agreed.
I can see that. This feels like community theater version of doing a pilot episode of The Addams Family.
Yes, and it's no disrespect to either of them, but like I just don't think that either of them embodied those characters and put their own spins on things. They're both they watched source material and just did it.
I don't think that the two characters have chemistry. Like, I mean, Gomez and Morticia need to believe that they are a couple and they are like 100% in love with each other.
I mean, I did not get that vibe. Like,
I didn't get a bad chemistry vibe like you did, but I guess to aid your point, when you look back at the movies and the original show, Gomez in both early incarnations, anytime he's like within, an earshot of Morticia, just gazing at her at all times, very obsessed with her.
It's lusty. They're not in love. They're in lust in the shows and the movies and
there's a little bit of that sprinkled in here, but it just doesn't. It doesn't come off as authentic. It's more like playing the greatest hits when you see them doing it.
Now, do you think that's because it's a children's TV show? I don't know if we touched on this too. This is geared towards children.
I would 1,000% agree with you if immediately he wasn't like, let's pull out handcuffs and have fuck play with the handcuffs, because that's a weird thing for a kid's show.
Yeah.
I was a little confused about what it wanted to be at times.
And look, I'm fine with that too. As an adult watching it, I was like, how sometimes we talk about these shows, you're like, sometimes there's a little bit for the kids and there's a little bit for the adults or whatever, right? Like, I get that, but I feel like maybe the handcuff, like BDSM play, is a weird thing for a Fox family show.
It was like he bought her a gift and it ends up being handcuffs, but I think it's a way that it can be spun so kids don't really get it.
Yeah, kids don't get that, and then the poor father that's forced to watch this show, this kid, is going, that's funny.
Especially when that poor father's kid was like, Dad, I found handcuffs in your room last week. And he's like, oh, I used to be a cop a few years ago. Shit.
I was an Addams.
When you look at the Addams Family and like how they operate, it makes like the handcuff thing could like a kid could just go, well, they like torture and stuff. So that's,
Exactly.
So like it makes sense.
It would have been funnier later on, because we do get Cops episode, if later on what I would have written for the button would be like, no, officer, use mine. And then she pulls out the handcuffs. That would have been a fun gag.
We get a quick cutaway, and it's like lurching Mama, and they're dealing with
Grandmama. By the way, they call her Grandmama. This is in the time of Larry Johnson. Right. They call her Grandmama.
I wanted to bring that up. Why
I
did
have
they do
Grandmama
that?
listed, but there's also points where Morticia called her Mama, so I was like, I don't want to say Grandmama the whole time because I'm going to think about Larry Johnson.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been funnier, though, if no offense to the actress who played Grandma in this, but wouldn't it have been so much funnier if Larry Johnson was playing the Grandma character during this? That would have been an immediate 5 green lights. You know it.
I thought this version of Grandmama nailed it, though. She was just like the one from the original
She did.
show,
I thought she did a great job.
She's very good.
Yes.
It's a Grandmama just at this time, it's hard to not.
But I will say again, this all kind of, again, is that the movie, I think, had the vibe of the Addams Family, but they definitely put their twist on it and had their own spin on each character, where this, every actor was really told to portray it very close to the original show.
Well, this was originally supposed to be a continuation of that original show. I think they just nixed that and were like, do your own thing, but...
And I get it, and it's not a knock on any of them, but it's but you can tell that they're trying to recreate when you watch a lot of them perform.
100%, yeah.
It's also hard. Like, there are some very successful franchises, way more now. I want to say back then, right? Thinking of 1998, because now we have all these comic movies and everything where you can do like a lot, right? You can make these stories go longer and longer. Back then, 3 movies was a lot. It was pretty wild if you got like a successful second movie, right? There weren't a lot of 3 sequels that really worked. So to take a TV show after the 3rd sequel is kind of gutsy because you're really losing steam at that point. Especially when your lead character dies. You have to replace them. And then you replace the guy who replaced them. Then you really start
Right, but if this was a TV show where it was the entire cast and they just recast Gomez, that would be different. But this is a whole new cast of people.
Except for Wednesday.
No, she was Wednesday in the Tim Curry movie.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. But they recast the entire series. They recast the entire movie, and then this TV show recasted that entire movie except for one person.
I believe the Tim Curry movie, the only person from the original movies was Lurch, if I remember
I think
that
so,
part
yeah.
correctly.
Yes. Yeah, he was in that. Yeah, so we see Grandmama and Lurch, and they're just dealing with like a dinner situation. And apparently they're going to eat a giant monster because it's like behind this big, like, kind of what industrial like fridge door that's like bouncing around. Lurch has this.
Is it even a fridge door? It's just like a
I thought it was a
cage door. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a cage or a prison cell or something.
Well, it reminds me of like, I don't know if like, you know, like I worked in supermarkets and you have like the locked like refrigerator doors. You see them
Is
in
that where you
restaurants
kept
too.
the monsters?
Is that where the monsters were at Shaw's?
That's where we would put our monsters. Yes, but it's that like that thick.
The real
Yeah,
monster
yeah,
was
yeah.
plastic bags.
I'm glad we tackled that one.
Am I the only one that's upset that you never see the monster?
We do see his ribcage, though.
You know what? I'll tell you. If you did see the monster, you'd be more upset.
Yeah, I think that's
would've
right.
been.
True.
Lurch's rolling pin that he has though is the size of a baseball bat.
Well, Lurch is very big.
Yeah, that was like the one thing that flagged me throughout that scene.
Have you guys ever bought a rolling pin online?
No.
Is there a
What?
difference between buying one online versus a store?
Okay, well, we have rolling pins because we make a lot of pizza and stuff. You have to roll out the dough, right? So a while ago, my wife
That
was
is
like,
what
you know
they're
what I
for,
really want?
yes.
Yeah, Nick knows what I'm talking about. Nick cooks a lot.
I don't know. I'm just glad that you explained rolling pins to us. It's like, what did you buy a rolling pin for? I can only imagine.
Well, when someone's like, hey, you know, I want one, they make them out of like granite and stuff, right? Like different things, heavier
Yes, yeah,
weights or whatever, right? So we order, you all want one out of granite. Okay, I got it. I'm ordering. Order from like Amazon. And it was one of those packages that was so big where like they rang the bell. We were like, well, that seems weird. And I came down. It was like in a guitar case to a point where like it was as tall as I was. And I was like holding wrapping paper out for like 5 minutes and then pulled out the regular size rolling pin. It was like, I don't know if they ran out of boxes that day, but if you ever buy a rolling pin, just go to a store and buy them. Don't order them.
I got one and it's got little hedgehogs on it. So when I make cookies, they have little hedgehogs.
Oh, so it's a cookie rolling pin specific.
Yes.
What can't you get hedgehogs on?
Nothing. Yeah, hedgehogs on everything.
I'm really glad the world got to this point. We finally made it.
We made it, boys.
My God, America is beautiful.
Wanted world peace? Too bad. You get hedgehogs on everything.
Yeah, we're on the precipice of World War III right now, and it's like, good thing we've got hedgehog cookies, everybody. Let's do this shit.
The world is on fire and Gordo's just rolling cookies.
I'll bring them to the troops when they come here.
All right.
Do you want hedgehog cookies? Because I'll make you some.
I would
do.
love hedgehog cookies.
I would love hedgehog cookies too, yeah.
I'd love any cookie, though. So
You have to be
can't go
real
by me.
careful with old Iron Stomach down there. So-
Yeah, I was gonna say, I appreciate the offer, but I feel like I'd have to burn that before I could even use it.
Now we cut back to Gomez, and he has a fencing sword, and it's kind of the perspective like he's facing the camera, and he's, I don't know, seemingly challenging someone to a duel. Turns out that person is a pumpkin that he plans to carve with the sword, despite the fact that it's already been carved. So now you see him jumping around and he's like swinging a sword everywhere, and you have these pieces of pumpkin flying everywhere, and then it reveals that now the pumpkin just looks slightly different. Like he didn't even do that much to it.
Not a lot of work.
That lasted way too long too. The whole him jumping around and carving and back and forth and the pumpkin flying everywhere. It went on for like 30, 40 seconds, I feel like, and it was unnecessary.
It should have just started with a uncarved pumpkin.
Yes.
And then when he did his thing, it should have revealed that it was like a beautiful piece of art. You know what I mean? Like that's how they should have played that same scene.
But like, imagine being the editor for this episode, right? And they do the whole scene, and the editor's like, this is too long. Put it in fast motion. And they do it, and he was like, yeah, that's still too long. Yeah. Print? Like, wait, what? No, you did it in fast motion? And it's still almost an entire minute of this 21-minute episode? That's too long. Although I was very happy as a person taking notes where I was like, we just killed a whole minute there. Beautiful.
So this is the scene that made me realize it was Saban, because I recently watched a few things of Ninja Turtles, The Next Mutation, and they love to do that fast motion shit. They filmed the exact same way, everything about it.
Quick question. Why?
I don't know. Because I found that they were on one of the things, streaming services. And
I want to watch a whole bunch of shitty Ninja Turtle stuff.
Oh, and it is shitty. It's worse than you remember.
No, I bought the DVDs years ago. Yeah, I saw them at Target for like 40 cents, so I bought the DVD set, and it's bad.
I still stand by even that TMNT movie from like 2004 that we were all so excited for. I think this entire group here went to the movies to see it together. The CGI, like TMNT one.
Billy Talent was in the soundtrack.
Is that the one with the Black Betty fight scene in the kitchen? Yeah. That was yeah.
I hated that one. I don't know. We all left and I was like, I guess that was a Ninja Turtles movie. I just didn't want to see a cartoon one again, you know? I wanted real suits again.
Well, that's what the Addams Family keeps doing to tie it in. Now it's like back and forth. Like, oh, a new Addams Family movie. It's cartoon again.
I think I said it last or 2 years ago, but I still stand by it. Phil from Modern Family would make a spectacular Gomez Addams.
He can't be any worse than Raul Julia. Not Raul Julia.
Whoa.
How dare you rest in peace, Raul Julia.
There's your soundbite.
That was a slip up. I think he's the best. I meant to say Luis Guzman because he's a terrible Gomez on Wednesday.
I haven't seen Wednesday.
I haven't watched it, but
it pisses me off how bad he is at it. Like he looks just like the original.
I was going to say, I know he looks like the original Gomez from the cartoon.
He does not act the part whatsoever. He just acts like Luis Guzman, and like
he shows you his balls.
It took me out of the show.
He cries about how he has a little dick in a deleted scene from fucking Boogie Nights. I fucking love Luis Guzman.
Wow, he just does dick and ball stuff in all his movies, huh? Now you have Gomez and Morticia talking about how much they love Halloween when Gomez spots Uncle Fester across the room bobbing for something, and he asks what it is, and he's like, grenades!
You did a spot-on impression, by the way. We went from fucking Christopher Lloyd being like, is it a severed head? And you're like, oh, Gomez rules, being like, grenades! Like, oh, come on, man.
Well, he is very much like classic again to the show. Like
he's
Fester.
Playing Curly from the Three Stooges.
As much as we love those movies, the Christopher Lloyd version of Fester wasn't the typical Fester.
It's the least Fester of every thing. Yeah,
he's playing TV show Fester,
and you see him like throw the grenade, and then there's the explosion off to the side, and he like looks to camera and starts laughing.
I did like that. Weirdly, so ruined surprise grenade this week. You know how they have those things at stores that say like complaint department, take a number, and it's like a pineapple grenade like he has, and you pull the pin and there's number 1 on it, right? I've always wanted one of those. My wife bought me one of those as a surprise, and it came in the mail, and like the person who shipped it just literally put a shipping label on the box and then shipped it. So she was like, I bought you this, and I opened it, and just like a fucking grenade rolls out because it was broken to pieces, and that thing's so heavy. It was just like, what just happened? Like in the moment of fear, we were like, so this is where I die now. That's going to be fun for everybody.
Can we talk about Fester for a minute? Did anybody else fucking hate the green hue on him?
Yeah.
That's from that third movie. They're like carrying that over. I don't like it either, yeah.
Another thing that carried on from the movies is him and Gomez being brothers. In the original series, he was, I think, Morticia's uncle. And I prefer them as brothers, not just because of the movie, but you get that sibling camaraderie. It makes a lot more sense, their relationship that way.
Yeah, it makes sense that they're so close because they're brothers.
Yeah.
Now, watching this episode, seeing Fester, I can't put my finger on it. What the hell is that actor from? And would I know him in anything?
Well, the only way I'll be able to answer that question is to do the thing that you could have done and look him up. So, Michael Robards, who unfortunately passed in 2016.
Robards. He's in Ernest Goes to School. You know that scene in Happy Gilmore where they all take their shirts off and say, "Go Happy"?
Yes.
He's one of the guys who takes his shirt off and says, "Go Happy."
Oh, okay.
Is that what you know him from, Gordo?
But that's like maybe the biggest thing our generation would probably know him from.
You probably know him as playing the Doctor in Saving Silverman.
He is in Saving Silverman as well. And Ernest Goes to School. Not one of the great Ernest movies, but an Ernest movie nonetheless.
Hot Tub Time Machine.
He just looks familiar.
Well, maybe you know him from one of the things we just mentioned.
I've never seen
He's
any
also
of the
one
ones
of like 7 people in this cast who were in an episode this year or the year after of Police Academy the series, which was also on Fox on Saturdays, and I watched religiously.
I watched it too.
Yeah, loved Police Academy the series.
Gordo, you never saw Saving Silverman?
No.
Wait, you've never seen Saving
That's
Silverman?
one of the
Add
most
that to your list.
underrated movies of all time. Like, it's so good.
All I'm thinking of is R. Lee Ermey pooping on the lawn outside and Gordo having a heart attack and dying, and your wife trying to pull your soul back like in fucking Who Framed Roger Rabbit because you've laughed yourself to death. So watch that, but like be careful of that happening to you. And then Gordo getting really into Neil Diamond.
To cycle this back with the whole grenade thing, I had a problem with that scene. I felt the way to go was, in the spirit of how the Addams Family are and their love of torture and stuff, he would have thrown the grenade and just saw like this like light explosion of confetti coming back at him. What he should have did was pull the pin, throw the pin, and then it cuts away, and then you see like Gomez and Morticia like reacting to the explosion, and then you cut back to Fester, who's now like kind of charred up and still laughing.
And he's dead.
And then he has the light bulb in his mouth because we shouldn't have waited 17 minutes and 16 seconds for that gag.
And then they did it in like the most non-contextual way. Like it's just jammed in there.
They were like, shit, we forgot to put it in. Like they had 60-something more.
Do you
episodes
hate the
to
movie too, Joe? Because he doesn't do that till the end of the movie.
No, I love the movie. You know I love the movie.
Yeah, so shut up.
So now the two kids enter the room because they're finally ready to go trick-or-treating. And the adults scream in terror when they see their costumes, because this year they're going as Siskel and Ebert.
I like this joke. I shouldn't.
I thought Pugsley's costume was spot on.
Yeah.
He looked just like him.
I will say this, though. I was waiting to see your reactions on this, especially you, Joe. This dates it very much.
It does.
So my issue with this is, first of all, it does date it for sure, because unless you're people of our generation or older, you really don't know who Siskel and Ebert are. And you really, no offense to Siskel, who died younger than Ebert, but like you really don't know who Siskel is. What I thought when I was watching this, I was like, okay, so you know what must have happened? Ebert must have like reamed the third movie super hard, and now they're like giving it to him.
Maybe he shit on Power Rangers.
I found the reviews that Siskel and Ebert did for the first 2 Addams Family movies. They did not do one for the third movie because they didn't do things that were direct to video. They just did theatrical releases. And they gave thumbs up reviews to both Addams Family and Addams Family Values. This Addams Family Values, he gave a review that was like glowing, that was like 3 stars, thumbs up. This is the rare sequel that's better than the original. It's a one-note joke, but the joke is great. Thumbs up. So then I was really confused that they were like punching down so hard on Siskel and Ebert because they keep doing it. They go back to the gag through the whole episode and like that's funny.
Maybe that's a writer that was on something else, a director, like, you know, maybe that tie is not to the Addams Family proper.
Saban Entertainment did not make the movies, so
yeah, it's just interesting to me. But their costumes are great, and I feel like we don't have those. We lost those people, Gene Shalit, Siskel and Ebert. Like we don't have any like sort of notable, well-known.
It's okay. We have comment sections now.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's okay. We have Rotten Tomatoes now.
Yeah,
There's 5 of us here.
Is that a callback to the last time that you reminded us that there's 5 of us here? There's 5
Just say
of
it.
us.
We're critics.
I guess.
I mean, the best critic of all
technically
time is Jay Sherman, and he's still with us, luckily.
That's true.
buy my book, listen to my podcast.
After this reveal of the costumes, we cut to two robbers that are in costumes running from the police outside. And they sneak into like the Addams family's front gate to hide from these cops that are going by. And we have like a gesture and it's not quite a clown. It's kind of a clown mask.
It's a very old mask. It's to give it a movie reference and a Boston reference, it's what they wear in the robbery scenes in The Friends of Eddie Coyle, the Boston movie from the 60s. It's like a
timeless classic.
Oh yeah, The Friends of Eddie Coyle.
Yeah.
You don't know the Friends of Eddie Coyle movie?
It's literally one of the greatest.
Oh, Joe, you're so quirky.
This is not a quirky thing. This is one of the. This is a humongous fucking movie, okay? It's a huge Boston. The fact that you guys don't know this movie is kind of shocking to me, and I think you'd all really enjoy it, if nothing else, for all of the Boston of it, like going to the Boston Garden in the 60s. It's a huge Boston movie. It's what the town was trying to take off on.
I'll just watch The Town. A good crime movie.
Eddie Coyle ain't no friend of mine.
It's also a great George V. Higgins novel. Does anybody read books anymore? Jesus fucking Christ, my head's gonna explode with you fuckers.
So now I don't have to explain that mask to any of you listening because Joe gave that great reference from that big movie you all know so much. So now you know exactly what the mask looks like.
Give me a moment, Jay, please. We reach a lot of people. Please, somebody message us, do something, tell me you know what I'm talking about.
But don't
with Friends of
lie.
Eddie Coyle.
Don't lie and say you know it. If you
You'll
actually
get,
know
two,
it, chime in.
Maybe 3.
Don't come in just to defend Joe.
Yeah, don't do
it's
that.
It's like a huge Criterion Collection. There's a lot going on here, guys. Great novel, Criterion Collection, Boston.
You know what's funny? I literally already forgot what the thing's called.
Eddie
Quayle.
I was going to make another joke and I couldn't remember it.
Eddie's pals.
Friends
of Eddie Quayle.
And it's a great cast.
Eddie goes on a duck tour.
So anyway, this mask is like curly haired, kind of like a clown, like an exaggerated clown face without makeup.
It looks like the killer clowns from outer space. That's something that most people would know.
Classic movie. Thank you, Gordo.
Gordo, that is a classic movie, and they look nothing like that.
They look like that at all. It looks nothing like that.
They look like JR.
As they're talking, the clown takes the mask off, and it reveals it's Jerry Van Dyke. And I
did not see this coming at all.
No.
I was so excited when I saw Jerry Van Dyke.
Was he like desperate for money? Like, how did they get him on the show?
Are you under the impression that Jerry Van Dyke was loaded from Coach?
No, but
yes, I am, because he did like 12 seasons of one of the biggest shows on TV at the time, in a world where you made a lot of money to be a big show on TV.
And he's got family money from Dick.
Dick's still alive. He's still he needed that money because it turns out he's going to live to be 1,000 years old, so he's going to have to save up.
He's getting that Mary Poppins residuals. He's fine.
As we go on, I'd just like to say, I'm pretty sure that they gave Jerry Van Dyke a script for this, and he went, yeah, cool, thanks.
Yeah.
And he just riffed every
I'm pretty
scene.
sure he did that with every acting credit he's ever had.
Because he's just going, he's so funny, and
He's very funny
his humor in this is so different than everything else that you know he's just riffing, and they were like, shit, it's cool, just let him ride, and we'll just take the good ones.
They're doing a very like classic villain duo that like most shows would have done in the past, even in the present a little bit. But that 2-man like bad guy group, comedic, like riffing off one another. But we do find out in the conversation it's a father-son duo, but he makes his son only refer to him as boss, and whenever he calls him dad, he gets real mad, and I was like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
In this scenario, sure, but like, if you're in the bank, though, and you're like, I forgot to get the gun, Dad, that's a problem, right?
When you're in the bushes by yourself, you go, sorry, Dad, don't call me Dad. It's like, oh man, this kid must be so fucked up.
Maybe he's a great dad, and he's trying to protect him, because like, if he gets caught later, and they try to arrest the son, that's the proof that he calls him dad.
We get his 3-word redemption at the end, though. That really shows the relationship.
So these two are still outside when the family heads out, because they're seeing the kids out as they're going to go trick-or-treating for the night. When they see the robbers, they assume that they're trick-or-treaters themselves and invite them in. And they're like, no, that's okay. But they hear like cops go by, so they're like, you know what, we'll go in for a minute. And then as soon as they walk in, when Jerry Van Dyke's character, by the way, doesn't have like an official name. If you look him up, it just said the burglar. So just in fairness, so Jerry walks in and he sees Lurch. He goes, Hey, Bigfoot, eating any good books lately?
That was the moment where I was like, he's just going for it, right? Eating any good books lately made me laugh so fucking hard.
And then when he sees Morticia, he's like, he compliments her makeup. It says one more layer and she could do kabuki theater. Again goes, like his laugh is so fucking
That's again how you know it's Jerry Van Dyke too, because like that's not a joke kids are gonna get. Like kids aren't gonna know what kabuki theater is, you know. He also asked if the place was decorated by Martha Stewart's Undertaker, which she wouldn't have one until she was dead. Martha Stewart's still currently alive.
Still currently alive.
She has a personal Undertaker.
What a great band name though, right?
Martha Stewart's Undertaker. Oh, I started a band called Martha Stewart's American Badass. It's the worst version of that.
You just do Kid Rock covers?
Yeah. We come down on a motorcycle 2 feet and then get off it like it was a really cool feat we did.
While they're seeing their guests in, Gomez is like, oh, let me take your bag for you. And when he grabs it, he finds out that this bag is full of money.
Because he wants to put candy in the bag because he thinks they're trick-or-treaters.
In Gomez's brain now, he goes, oh no, like, we were just going to give you these gummy bats. It's like, all our neighbors are in the spirit of Halloween. They're giving you all these stacks of cash. So he pulls out like 2 big wads of cash, like out of his coat pocket.
Also, good gag. The gummy bats are real live bats
Yes.
that are dripping goo. Not the delicious sour gummy bats you can get from Haribo this time of the year, which are so good and they make your teeth hurt.
I didn't know they made gummy bats.
They're delicious and they're very sour. They're so good. If you see the gummy sour bats at the store, grab them. I've bought like 5 bags of them so far. I don't eat much candy.
I do like a good Haribo gummy, but usually the twin snakes.
I'm a twin cherries guy.
Well, I don't mind them, but the twin snakes are like a bit sour, and I like my
The
sour.
sour. If you like the sour, you'll like the bats.
I'm gonna keep an eye out.
I just do Sour Patch watermelons. That's the only like candy I eat.
The Sour Patch is hard for me because of that sugar. It rips your tongue up.
My teeth hurt just having this conversation.
I know we often have the conversation like
We talk about food a lot, which is
If you guys were a gummy item, what gummy item would you guys be?
I'd be a gummy Ferg.
no. I think it's funny to look back. It's something about Ferg. You're so like trapped in time because like that's been your candy since we were children. Like it's just like nothing's changed.
I know what I like and I stick with it.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Although, here's how well we know each other. Ferg's actual favorite was the CVS brand gummy watermelons until they changed them. But he used to prefer those over the actual Sour Patch Kid version.
Facts.
And this is what happens when you hang out with the same people for almost 40 years.
Yeah, we're going on 4 decades of
Yeah.
incessant friendship.
If only we met people that were nicer to us.
Imagine like an alternate world where we all went to a different school at 7 years old, and we're all just like MIT scientists now.
I'm pretty sure, Gordo, didn't you run like CVS just made me think of this, sorry. Like old school CVS. Didn't you run like a stolen cigar racket?
I did.
CVS? You would like hide them around town, and when people wanted cigars, you'd like go pick them up and sell them.
Yeah, I mean, I think the statute of limitations are over on that, over petty theft. Yeah, I used to go into CVS's, and people used to pay me to get Swisher Sweets.
That's right.
Those cigars, and I would lift them, as the kids would say, and then I would sell them for like $2.50 a cigar.
That's all right. Jay got banned from CVS for not stealing a leg.
I know, I got banned from CVS for a while for not stealing something. I got accused of stealing something I didn't steal.
And meanwhile, I'm over there going bloop.
Meanwhile,
when you wouldn't leave, I got taken home by the cops, not you.
Yeah, you know what? Our town's weird, okay? I got in trouble for not stealing, and then you're the one who got sent home in a police car.
And on that too, like our whole generation is the reason that like if you need razors or fucking actual medicine that will make your head not hurt anymore, like you have to get somebody to come unlock something. Like it was so easy. The idea that Gordon was like stealing cigars because cigars were just in an aisle is fucking crazy now.
You gotta date us too, though, because this was at a time when CVS had a literal aisle of cigars for some reason.
Yeah.
And cigar cutters, which if you took as a kid, they would let you buy for $2. We used to take and be like, look, I cut a rock in half with this thing. We're like, that's not a thing you should give to 10-year-olds.
We're lucky we have all our digits.
Seriously, we could have been Darkman.
Now that these two robbers realize that the Addams family are loaded, they kind of go off to sidebar for a minute, and they decide that, you know, the only logical thing to do now is to rob them. So we cut to like a little later. It looks like there's a scene break here. So this would have been post-commercial. They ran to the room, guns up, announcing that they're going to be, holding them up. And they're all excited because they're into this type of thing. So now they all think it's a game. Fester's excited. It's his favorite game. He pulls out his gun, which is like a musket gun.
It's, what do they call it? A blunderbuss? It's like a pirate gun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was? Because then, like, Gomez like grabs it from him. He's like, hey, like, you're being rude to our guests. And when he grabs it, the thing goes off, and you see like that, like the ball, like he catches it in his mouth.
It's like that big though.
Yeah, it's a very big musket ball.
They start doing this whole like, they tie him up, and they're like, all right, tell us where all your valuables are. It's like, no, you'll have to beat it out of us. And he's like, no, this isn't a violent robbery. Like, just tell me where everything is. Like, well, what's the fun in that?
This feels very sexual, where he's like shaking his butt at them, where he's like, you're gonna have to pistol whip me. You're gonna have to pistol whip me. It's very darkly sexual.
See, this part reminds me of the first movie when Morticia's tied up and they're torturing her to try to get her to open the vault, and she just likes it.
Right.
When Gomez gets there, it's like our honeymoon.
I feel like they also made it. It's an our honeymoon joke in this one, I think, too. I think they mentioned that
did.
line.
They did.
Yeah.
Tied up.
I noticed around this point, I feel like Fester is like the way he plays the character very young, despite being like an adult man, but he like the way he reacts to things, like he's like, oh, like he's very like a 6-year-old basically. Like anytime like he's not like he doesn't get what he wants, but he's disappointed.
He's like horny Casper.
I don't get a horny vibe from Fester. He's more childish.
I also don't get a Casper vibe.
Yeah,
I get
don't
horny and Casper from him. He's very, when he's like, oh, pistol whip me. Oh, this whole
He
episode.
definitely does not do that.
Joe, man, there's a weird transmission error in your.
I got very horny from him. I literally felt like he was like shaking his butt at
Did
that
you
the
say
whole
you got
time.
very horny from him?
Fester made me very horny.
Well, he does have a black belt in sadomasochism.
That's
Yes.
true.
3rd-degree black belt.
And then from there, we cut to the kids who are trick-or-treating, and they knock on the door of this couple who, like, clearly loves Halloween. And you see, like, one of them's got a Jason mask on. The girl's got, like, that fake hatchet hat on where it looks like it's going into her skull.
Always wanted one of those.
They're really excited to have their first trick-or-treaters of the night, and they tell the kids, like, oh, you got to say the magic words if you want these raisins. Instantly thought of Ferg, and how Ferg definitely went, alone in his room when he heard that.
Ferg would have punched that guy in the face in real life.
I'm sorry, raisins is not candy.
It's nature's
I agree.
candy.
I like raisins, but not candy. But what about raisinets?
No,
I love
Raisinets.
Raisinets.
I love raisinets.
Love Raisinets.
gross.
Have I ever told you guys about the time that trick-or-treaters came to my house unexpectedly when I lived in...
Yes.
Yes, and you gave them
I have.
beans. Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, you told it on the show.
I think Gordo had the most bland chili ever that week. He's like, we don't have any beans. It's just sauce and peppers. We're doing it. Now, with a show like this, I painstakingly every week, if it's in the wheelhouse of around this time, I go through editors. I go through everybody's IMDb. I am just trying to find anybody who worked on Mantis. Nobody has worked on Mantis. It is impossible. But this woman who plays the trick-or-treater ghost was on a show that sounds like Mantis that I do not remember.
Oh,
That
Mantis.
sounds amazing. Do you guys remember this show? It is called
Mantis?
Pantis?
Nightman.
Nightman doesn't sound like Mantis.
It was on the same amount of time. There's comic crossovers. It's supposedly the same universe.
Okay, so I don't remember this. It's a story of Johnny Domino, a jazz musician who gets struck by lightning. And
It was on USA at night.
Okay, I need to find Nightman, because this might be a Mantis double feature.
Surprised you don't remember Nightman. It was
I was surprised, too. I was like, this seems like it would have been something I watched, you know?
he had long hair and the thing covered his eye.
Yeah, he was a jazz musician, so he's like, let's just smoke a joint real quick before we go fight crime.
So anyways, yeah, this couple tells him, yeah, hey, you got to say trick or treat. It says, say the magic words. When they say it, then the couple says trick. They offer, so they said, you know, you're going to have to trick us if you want these raisins.
Bad move.
And then invite these children into their house. Now,
Also creepy.
they're a fun-loving, innocent couple, but I was like, okay, can't just have kids go into your house like this.
I was actually surprised that Wednesday said trick or treat when Like, I thought it'd say the magic words, now, something like that. Like,
well, what she does say is as they're walking in, she's like, it's your funeral, as she holds these giant bolt cutters when they're walking into the house.
I love when I look up all these actors, see what they've done and like where their lives have gone. Male Yuppie is the character name here by Kevin Michael Perry. Only acting credit.
Really?
Only one he ever did.
That's so
like this
weird.
dude is someday at a bar. He's like, yeah, I was on TV once. I was Male Yuppie #1, the pilot of the Addams Family 1998 TV show. I got tortured by some kids.
they reminded me of the camp counselors from Addams Family Values.
Yes, I think they were definitely going for that.
They were probably going for that vibe, I bet.
Yeah.
And now we get back to the house where we see everyone like sitting like in kind of like backs against one another in a circle though, and they're all tied up. And the burglars are yelling at them to tell them where they hide the money. And they give them like the instructions as to where to find it. And again, like the family's having a ton
where
of
are your
fun.
valuables?
Valuables. That is important actually, because that comes into play later. Where the valuables are.
Valuable, what's valuable is in the eye of the beholder.
That's true. Well, we've come to find that out later.
That's beauty. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
It's all the same. So the two run up because they're given instructions as to where to find the valuable. As like they get to the top of the stairs, the two start talking to one another. And the son's like, I want to just get out of here. And the father's telling him how, I've been robbing people my whole life, and this is the easiest I've ever had it. It's like taking candy from an ugly baby. They go on for like a bit more, and then boom, trapdoor, and they fall basically like far enough that they should die, but they're fine because it's a sitcom. They cut away to Morticia asking Gomez if they should have warned them about the trapdoor. He's like, what? And ruin the surprise?
They land just out of sight of a guillotine that then drops.
It drops like, and their heads are like just far enough back that it doesn't affect them. I thought like, I don't know, again, it's very Home Alone-ish, the way that they're treating these two.
Yeah, they're making them run through the gauntlet. I wish they stepped on a bunch of micro machines and went flying down the hallway.
I would have loved a Jerry Van Dyke, Fritchie.
Jerry Van Dyke all of a sudden has like a little blue cap on before he gets his head burnt. It was a sad thing on Jerry Van Dyke's deathbed. He put his hand up and there was a circular A on his hand from when he grabbed the handle of the door.
We cut back to where the kids are at, and now they're outside of that house where they were trying to trick or treat earlier, and there's a few other kids with them now. And those kids are ringing the doorbell over and over again, and no one's answering. And they're like, I guess no one's home. And they're like, no, they're home. And you cut to the inside, and you see, like, the doorbell's rigged up to wires, and, like, every time the doorbell rings, electricity shoots to the couple who's now tied up and being, like, severely electrocuted every time the doorbell goes off.
This is torture of a human being.
It is, yes. This is where the show took a turn for me. This is a weird vibe on top of other weird vibes. This show is like really, really struggling to figure out what it's trying to be. And I don't know why this right here really turned me off on the show.
Nick, I think you're right. When the kids walk away and they're like, no, they're home. Keep trying, meaning keep electrocuting them.
Yeah.
Also, when they get electrocuted, I think you'll appreciate this. They look like that scene in Batman Forever where they throw the electricity thing and the guys just go. Those are the worst effects of all time.
What gets me is because you do see them getting electrocuted, and it looks like it's fun. Like they're not doing it in a way that's like
they got the wacky like pushed out hair,
but
thing.
It's also to the point where it's like it looks like it could be fatal if it goes on for much longer. The thing is, and Nick, to what you're saying is, when you look at other parts of the Addams Family, like different incarnations of it, and even in the show when you see other parts, the joke is like that they like pain, like receiving it.
Right,
So,
yes.
So it's no, point the gun at us, like torture us, like I want to be tortured. When they're torturing innocent people who won't find joy in that, it hits very differently.
Yeah, it seemed a little unnecessary and a little, I don't know, it just spoke to how
nice couple that loves Halloween, and now they're like they're being tortured all night, and they don't want that.
Not to always go back to Addams Family Values, which is the superior Addams Family vehicle. When they finally torture Joan Cusack, it's because she's been the villain for an hour and a half, and she's finally getting her comeuppance. Right. These are just shitheads who were like, it's funny, we don't give you candy for Halloween. And then these two little masochists are like, we're just going to light you up.
I feel like that's the only thing that carried over from the movie, though, is the Wednesday character. Because the original series, Wednesday was like an innocent little girl that just kind of looked gothic almost.
Yeah, right, but she's dark in the movies, yeah.
And then in the movies, she became dark, and that carried on. That became Wednesday's character for every iteration since.
Serial killer trading cards and stuff, yeah.
Well, I think when you look back at Amy Fisher, when you look back at those movies, I think because Christina Ricci's portrayal of Wednesday was one of the standouts of the whole franchise.
Correct.
So I think that's why that's something that everyone else clung to after, because that was something that really was like the thing that most of America gravitated towards when those movies came out.
And I think our generation too, I think Christina Ricci in that movie like basically got like our generation's heart immediately, right? We're just like, yes, Christina Ricci, whatever you say.
I've said this before. My first crush was Wednesday Addams. Christina Ricci as Wednesday Addams was my first ever crush as a kid.
Black Snake Moan, Christina Ricci still does it for me.
I mean, yes, but I was a little older at that point, and I already liked her. We get back to the house, and Gomez is asking Grandmama how dinner's doing.
Saying Grandmama with a straight face is killing me. I'm sorry.
Grandmama.
Grandma's just dribbling the ball in the hallway.
So we cut to this big door, and we see like a hairy arm break through it, and it's like pounding away, trying to get out of this whatever it's in, whether it be a fridge or anything. And in another room, like those sounds are making the younger burglar jump, and he bumps his dad into an electric chair, and he's like, "Sorry, Dad." He goes, "Don't call me Dad," as he's being electrocuted.
Jerry Van Dyke is on like year 9 of Coach at this point. He is making so much money, and he does not need to be doing this, and he's making fake electricity noises and yelling at some dude to not call him Dad. What a hero.
I mean, he had to have known, or somebody had to have known him, right? With the production on this show or something like.
It's a same agent or something for sure.
Yeah, this is a new show. We need some sort of namesake to really like kind of.
Also, guys, and no disrespect to Jerry Van Dyke, but you're acting like they got George Clooney to play the burglar.
How fucking dare you?
Jerry Van Dyke is like a generational comedian.
Jerry Van Dyke didn't get his big break until he was like 60 years old.
And so same with Leslie Nielsen, and we still love him.
But I'm saying, like, this isn't like beneath him type of job. Like, this isn't that crazy that he's in it. I like seeing him in it, but I'm not shocked by it.
No, I disagree. Yeah, I think it is. It's really strange that he's in this weird one-off shot pilot.
By any chance, is this the same network as Coach?
No.
This would have been Fox.
This is Fox, and Coach was one of the major, either CBS, ABC, or NBC. I think CBS.
Okay.
But we do often bring up the greatest horror icon of our time, Leslie Nielsen. And I do want to say that Ellie Harvey, who played the best Dracula of any generation,
hands down.
Ellie Harvey, who plays Morticia in this, was in the Mr. Magoo movie. But her scenes were deleted.
I forgot they made that movie.
The saddest fucking credit ever. But like, Mr. Magoo, the movie, parenthetical, scenes deleted. Like, oh, geez.
I just remember him skiing at one point. That's all I remember about the movie.
Skiing backwards because he can't see. Oh, yeah.
So we talked earlier about the kids being a little bit mean-spirited with that couple. Now, this one's tricky, right? So now they're walking and they see this kid who's a bully and he's stealing candy from the other kids. And these kids run off and they approach him afterwards. And Wednesday goes, "Don't you feel guilty stealing candy from little children?" And he's like, "Actually, no, not at all." She goes, "I respect that." I actually really loved her delivery there.
She's definitely aping the Ricci.
Yeah,
but she does a good job.
But now this kid's like, okay, now he's trying to steal Wednesday and Pugsley's candy. And Pugsley hands over the bag, but not before throwing dynamite in it. So the kid walks off.
Dynamite with a timer like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now kid walks off. Wednesday takes out the detonator thing and then murders this kid, I guess.
Yeah, she straight up just murders a child.
I was expecting to see him in like a tree with his hair messed up, like, oh, later, and it never happened.
If you don't give me that like 50s, 60s style like gag of the kid like, "Ooh," then I have to assume he's dead now.
Yeah,
so,
they straight up murdered this child.
And again, he's a bully, so it kind of aids to what we were saying before, like at least this kid's like a bad guy.
But he tried to steal candy and got blown up. Like I don't
And
know.
then as the candy flies back into the air that was in the bag, all the kids that I assume the kids that he was robbing earlier, you see them in the background like picking up all the candy, which I can only assume is also covered in blood and guts.
One kid picks up his ear
because this dude completely exploded, but the kid's like, "Oh, candy!" Like don't mind that finger that just flew by with it. But
is that a Butterfinger? No, it's a bully finger.
They should have at least aged the kid up a little because even though he was a bully, he looked like an innocent kid.
It's hard to root against like an 8-year-old. I know. I wish they did like the Mr. McCraig thing where he came back and he had like his arms and legs misplaced and he was like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, because then his life's gonna be a nightmare, but like he's not dead.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those like, let's see what kind of hijinks these kids are gonna get into, but they're just serial killers in this show.
Just like lighting cats on fire in the alleyway. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like I want to see the like this is 1998. I want the multi-part like Hulu original series about the like multi-state crime spree these kids eventually went on.
Siskel and Ebert went on a killing spree.
Yeah. Well, you have the two kids after they blow up this kid, and it's like they're going, I found that explosion predictable and grotesque. And then she goes, really? I gave it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I do appreciate this is the second time that they actually riff.
And they nail it.
Siskel and Ebert, and they do it so well. Yeah, I mean, Siskel and Ebert at the movies every Saturday morning was something I did watch a lot as a kid, and they did it pretty well.
Back into the house again, back to the adults. There's a lot of back and forth. Get back in the house. Jerry Van Dyke's running in the room, arms up. Does somebody want to get shot? And you just have Pugsy go, I do.
Shaking his butt again.
You stop.
I will say that the I don't know when to interject this part of the conversation. The way this is shot, and it is obviously shot as a kid's show, also obviously very of that time, that late 90s, like the way it looks, the way it's like the cameras are moving, the back and forth, like it all feels very of that time.
I didn't like the way that it was shot. I just didn't like it didn't look like film stock, and I can't quite explain it, but it was like something with like the coloring or like the cinematography or something. Like I don't know enough.
It's 90s children's television though. It was shot differently. It's like that's how that stuff looked around that era.
Everything Saban did was cheap.
I'm with you, Gordo, but I wrote in my notes too at the beginning of this. I was like, this feels nostalgic. It's whatever film stock, whatever color filters they use in the editing. It doesn't say it's good or bad, but didn't it feel like watching TV in 1998? Like it very much brought me back to what TV looked like then that it does not look like now.
No, it did. I just wish that I knew more about the process so I could pinpoint exactly what I didn't like.
I feel like it's got to be film though. 98. We're not full digital yet.
It had to have been.
Which means that there is like a salt mine somewhere with all of the like 100 reel per episode of this TV show being preserved in like a temperature controlled mountain, which is insane.
The burglar's upset. He finally found the safe, and all that was in it was this worthless vial. And Gomez's like, worthless? Since when is Black Plague worthless?
I actually did get a chuckle out of that.
I got a chuckle too. It's also a very large vial.
Yes.
It is.
And he goes, when I said valuables, to go back to when Ferg corrected me earlier, justifiably, he's like, I meant loot, dinero, greenbacks, money. A greenback I've never heard.
Really?
I have
never heard that one.
I don't give a damn about a greenback $1. It's a very popular term. I hate that I want to fucking talk because you give me the dirty looks like it's not a fucking...
I was waiting for it. I was ready to...
No. I'm with Joe.
Gordo, thank you, Gordo.
It's a Civil War. I believe that's what they called it, like post-Civil War. Yeah.
But the song Joe was going to mention, Joe was going to act like it was a top 10 hit.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know about that from Tin Cap Sally?
First of all, you're speaking of Tin Pan Alley, which is not the same thing, but...
Okay, I was just making shit up, but okay.
Tin Pan Alley,
What, Joe?
Quirk it up.
You guys are really letting the weed out of the chap right now, all right?
It's chaff, you motherfucker. It's chaff.
Oh my god. And week by week, we can see Joe getting angrier and angrier. He's devolving. I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn into what's in fucking the Mario Brothers movie. I'm gonna turn into like Joe
Monkey.
Proud, Joe Strong, just shaking my little head by the end of this.
It's gonna take a few years, but then Joe's gonna start like doing the unthinkable and start canceling shows once in a while too. Like it's gonna be a crazy, bizarre world. Anyways, they're like, "Oh, money! Why don't you just say so? It's in the cookie jar in the kitchen." So like they run over to the kitchen now, and the cookie jar is like this giant skull. Look pretty cool actually. Like if I like that, I wouldn't put cookies in it, but it wouldn't be bad for like knick-knack storage.
Cookies aren't good in a jar like that. Cookies go bad in a jar like that. There's no seal.
Yeah. But they've hit the jackpot because inside of it is tons of money and jewelry and things of that nature.
Is there some change too? At one point, did I feel like I heard the like sound effects guy was like making the like when you dip your hand into like a big thing of pennies.
It was
noise?
probably Spanish doubloons.
I was gonna say it's probably like rare coins or something like that. Yeah. And the younger one's like, I could finally buy myself that pony. And his dad's like, I could finally divorce that hack you call a mother and move up to Tahiti with Bambi.
Tahiti with Bambi sounds pretty fun.
You didn't hear that.
Yeah.
And again, I feel like that's all him riffing. I feel like that's not in the script.
His lines are a very different tone than the rest of the show, so I could see him being like, I can go a little off, right? As long as I'm kind of, follow the thing.
I mean, that's kind of the thing about him. He's never been somebody else. He's always just been Jerry Van Dyke on screen in somebody else's
You hire him
house.
to be him.
Yeah.
And now after they find all this stuff, we cut back to the family again, and they're bored because they've just been tied up. They haven't been tortured. They haven't been beaten. So none of the fun stuff they want. So they just lift the ropes up, which exposes the fact that they were never really trapped. They were just going along with it the whole time. And they're like, we got to split up and find the robbers, I think under the assumption that they might be lost.
Also, Uncle Fester screams, "This sucks."
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
he
says
does.
sucks. Which again, we've talked about this before. Our generation has normalized to any youth, whatever, that sucks a dick is a thing you can just shorthand, and it's so funny to me.
But that was like, to look back at that time, especially like late 90s, and when you look back at, I know we always bring up wrestling because we grew up watching wrestling. You look at like 98, suck it, all that stuff, like saying so-and-so, you suck, like kids, like what, that was not that taboo of a term anymore. Like it was like the everything was like blown off the roof at that point. Like things were a little too wild, but sucks was very mellow.
98's when Mankind went through the table off the cell, didn't he? Isn't it?
Nick, will you stop talking about
Dude,
wrestling?
come on. But yeah, so I mean, like, I feel like this sucks. Like, I don't think that's like anything that would
still surprised me.
Yeah.
It surprised me
like,
too,
now.
yeah. Hearing kids say suck a dick is weird.
Well, again, that's not a kid saying suck a dick. That's an adult saying
I'm
this
sorry,
sucks.
people saying that to a kid's show, rather.
Sucks, though, I mean, was kind of a bad word at that point. That's why all that counterculture stuff was what it was. Like the suck it wouldn't have had as big of an impact as it did if sucks wasn't
Right, but it was because
normal
it's
word.
not that it wasn't bad, but it just became so common that it didn't flag you as like, you're so used to hearing it at that point.
And now, again, you could hear a kid, a 4-year-old on TV show be like, this sucks. And you're like, that's whatever, keep on moving. Like, it's very different 30 years later.
I remember my mother yelling at me for saying this sucks.
I do too. I remember being younger and being like, don't say that.
Yep.
I remember going to wrestling events legit as a kid when they would chant like, Owen sucks, like looking at my dad like, can I say it? Like when everyone would chant and you'd like get
We're
like
in the moment. Can I say it now?
And your dad's like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah. You get like the one-time permission though that you're allowed to do it. But anyways, yeah, so now they're all dispersing to go find the robbers. So we cut back and now the robbers hear that the Addams family have escaped. And now the dad's going, we should split up. He's like, I'll take the bag so you can go faster. This piece of shit's going to abandon his son.
Classic, yep.
He's such a shitty human being.
Also, we didn't mention it, but the 3 words he always wanted to hear was he finally tells
Well,
his
this
kid,
is where it comes
you
in
were
now.
not adopted.
Well, what
before
happens
this.
is his son is saying, tell me that you love me. He's asking him blatantly to say that he loves him first, but he says, tell me the 3 words I've been waiting to hear my whole life. And that's when the dad says, you weren't adopted. And he
I love you too, Daddy.
He reacts as if he said, I
I
love you.
hate you, Daddy. That's when he gave him a cool Dr. Money haircut.
You look like
and they
Charles
all
Barkley without the
left so
muscles.
happy.
So now we cut back to Grandmama, who's she finds out that dinner is
Charles Barkley and Grandma. It's such a short scene. sequence. This is basically a basketball podcast now.
She finds out dinner's escaped, and she grabs some knives to hunt it down. And so now she runs off. And now we see like the son, the burglar, the gesture, he's trying to escape. And he gets into this like area of the house where Lurch is in like armor.
No, that's the that's not
No,
Lurch.
that's the Sasquatch.
That's the living armor that they have in their thing.
Oh,
that was
is
even
it?
in the
I
original
just thought it was
show.
Lurch in the armor.
No, Lurch is on a seat.
Because Lurch is in a chair and someone falls on his
you're
lap.
Right, you're
later.
right. So there's the armor there. No, I completely forgot they had the living armor. So I was like, why is Lurch in there? And that's when we get like Fester doing the light bulb thing kind of out of nowhere. They are just trying to get the gag in the episode.
I mean, it's a great gag and you have to do it.
They should have done that during the electrocution scene when he hit the thing. Have Fester do the light bulb then or something like that. I know he was tied up at the time, but at least electricity was involved.
Right, there's so much electricity in this episode, they don't do it then, yeah.
You don't have to sneak it in this episode. That's the thing. Like, you can just do it another time.
Or, like, just put it literally in the opening.
Snap, snap.
Yeah, like, I have a light bulb in my mouth. Snap, snap. You'd be like, okay, well, we know he does that now. And then you can do it anywhere, and you'll never be, like, waiting for it, you know?
Yeah, so this kid falls to the ground, and that's when Thing walks up and, like, places his fingers or so on him, and he, like, gets up and runs off. This dude's terrified now of everything going on around him.
We didn't talk about, but the Thing, I don't know, the Thing effect was really well done for a television show.
I thought so too, actually. We don't get a lot of it, but the few times they did it, I thought, yeah, it did work out pretty well.
Yeah, you get him in the Don't Wake Daddy outfit, and then you get him doing all this stuff, and it's good every time. It's I forget the guy's name, but he's just an illusionist. He's not like an actor. It's a guy who like does hand stuff all the time, so they were like, well, that makes the most sense.
Just doing hand stuff all the time.
Hand stuff.
Doing hand stuff with Fester. Oh, give me hand stuff.
Stop it. He's childish. You can't...
hand stuff.
Oh, you finally talk about an adult in a sexual way, and you pick the one that acts like a child. So now this is the point where we see the father, and he's like in like this, I don't know if it was in the living room or library area, but you see all these books behind him. That he's backing up towards that wall, and the wall slides up, and the Grim Reaper's just there and drags him off.
Well, yeah, duh.
First off, again, we brought this up earlier. I don't know if the Grim Reaper is like a character on the show that he's just hanging in the house, but he's there briefly. But then like a half second later, the very next shot is like him alone again without the Grim Reaper.
Yeah.
There's like no payoff to that at all.
Nope.
And he's like, I gotta get out of here. But first I have to sit down. He sits on Lurch's lap.
Nothing, Joe?
I was gonna say, like, it's weird because I guess in canon from Bill and Ted, you can have the Grim Reaper who hangs out and can do things without killing you. And a little bit in the classic, like, Grim Reaper playing, like, chess with you thing, where, like, you can play for your life that they do in Bill and Ted. But usually you don't get the Grim Reaper just being like, howdy, and then, like, doesn't touch you when you die. Like, that's a weird thing to have around.
It was the fact that he grabbed him, though, like, in a way that, like, there's like, if the Grim Reaper, like, grabs you from behind and, like, drags you off, like, that's probably not good.
That's the end, usually, yeah.
But the next shot, it's as if that never happened, and then he's, like, running off on his own again. There's, like, no explanation or payoff to that.
Do we know that he's a Grim Reaper and not, like, one of those gargoyle things from Lord of the Rings?
Gargoyles.
Is that one of the walking trees?
No. The guys in the horse that look like Grim Reapers.
The Nazgul?
Yeah, the Gazgul.
Nazgul.
The
Nazgul.
Gabagool?
You do.
Ooh, Gabagool, it's salty.
We talked about how, like, the Addams Family, they all, like, they look creepy and stuff, but they never mean anybody harm. So maybe it was just, it pulled him into a closet with no intent on hurting him.
Oh, in the closet with me!
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I wish I knew.
You got no comment on the guy sitting on Lurch's lap, but you're going all off on poor Fester.
I would say that this is not a world where they're as harmless, though, right? Because the kids are murderers.
The kids are. The rest of the family, they're just playing with the robbers who they think
Maybe it
are
skips
trick-or-treaters.
generation.
After this, the father and son run into one another again, and they hear Mama, running into the room. But she's like looking for dinner, that monster that's run off. But they think that she's like hunting them down. So they hide behind like a curtain and she's like screaming about how she's gonna like skin them and cut them up. But like really she's talking to someone that's not them, but they're terrified. And then when they have their out, they run off.
Am I the only one that thought the payoff of the episode was going to be the dinner saved them? Like maybe they're all held at gunpoint and like the monster's like hand comes and like knocks them out.
No, because
or
at this point I was so fucking confused where they might even be going that I just stopped trying to speculate.
It follows a storyline, but it is a little frantic because of how often it cuts from thing to thing to thing.
Because it's frantic though, that makes me feel like it's a lot like the original show.
I just think it just more caters to the fact that it's for kids. It's just that style.
The short attention spans.
Yeah.
You gotta throw everything fast.
So now we see Gomez, who's looking for the two of them as well. But the doorbell rings. When he opens the door, it's his kids being brought home by the police.
For what crime?
Right, well, first he just says that they've been terrorizing the neighborhood and that they set a nursing home on fire, but they were able to get the fire out before any real damage happened.
Too dark.
Do you get to go home after that?
No, you
You
go
tried
to
to kill a building full of elderly.
Hey, you tried murdering dozens, if not hundreds of people.
And people
We're
who
taking
can't
you
run
home.
and get away fast from the fire. Like, that's a terrible, terrible crime.
Yeah, again, I think they didn't know, the writers didn't seem to know the line of darkness that they're supposed to have with these kids.
I think they lost the, like, wasn't that funny? It's, like, too weird, you know?
Where a movie should have more free reign to go a little darker, the show is lighter in nature compared to the movies, but the things they're referencing are darker.
I don't know. In Addams Family Values, they in the whole Thanksgiving play, they pretty much murdered every kid there and every parent in the audience.
Well, they did make them listen to Michael Jackson, and that's a murderable offense.
If you're going to separate art from the artist.
I'm not going to separate art from the artist when it comes to Michael Jackson, who
Child
basically is
guilty
Uncle
aside.
Fester going, the whole time.
Some
not
bangers.
going to do it.
Some
When
real
did they
bangers.
make them listen to Michael Jackson?
When they put him in the room,
Oh, when they're in that room? I remember them watching all the movies. I don't remember Michael Jackson.
there's the poster in there, and he freaks out because he's
It's
alone.
on the wall.
He looks at the poster and goes like, ah! Which is funny because originally Michael Jackson had put together a movie he was going to do that was going to be a preamble to Addams Family Values that was about a weird guy who lived in a mansion that hung out with a bunch of kids, and the townspeople called him a freak and a weirdo, and they filmed like half of it, and Stephen King wrote it. And then things got really weird, and they were like, we're sorry, Michael, we can't put this in front of the movie. And then they put the make fun of Michael Jackson joke in the movie. Just fucking wild.
So that exists somewhere.
Yo, you can see footage online of it, yeah.
Oh.
Neat.
It's basically just people. There's interviews with people being like, I didn't know what to tell him. So, because like the casting guys are like, just yell at him and call him a freak. Like he's a townspeople, like Frankenstein's monster. And there's one guy who's like, you're so weird. You're a freak. You bleach yourself white. And they're like, whoa, that's too far. It's too far.
Oh, you're ignorant. That's ignorant.
Don't say that to me. Oh, Fester, come here.
Okay. So,
I mean, fuck Michael Jackson.
I'd rather not.
You gonna defend? Thank you. I was gonna say, you looked like you were gonna defend it for a second, Jay, and I was like, "Are you gonna die on that hill?" I don't think so, but
Rather not.
So when Gomez finds out about all the disgusting things his children did, obviously that doesn't faze him or upset him. He goes, well, children, you tried your best. This is when, like, the robbers who are trying to run away from what they think is being skinned alive run to the front door, and the cops instantly recognize them, like, watch out, these guys are, armed robbers.
these guys are bank robbers. Like, okay, this guy's an assistant coach at a very good fucking college football team. Get him.
And he's going, just arrest us, like, get us away from these lunatics. And, so they get handcuffed and taken off.
The Addams Family got richer from that, too, because they never get the bag. They leave the bag.
Yeah,
there.
true.
all
Yeah.
the bank
You get
robbery
all that
money's
money.
still in there.
And, like, they see them off as they're being, like, taken away, and they're waving, going, like, oh, what strange men. And it's like, well, Halloween brings out all kinds. And you just get, like, that one last closing scene, which I kind of thought was unnecessary.
I didn't think this was necessary at all.
Yeah, I was like, it should have ended there with them waving goodbye. But
and it would have saved some some prop person for having to build like a giant skeleton to put on the table. Like, it's just unnecessary all around.
Yeah, so now it's dinner time. Apparently they caught this monster that's been running around the house and ate it, and the bones are gigantic. It basically looks like they ate a dinosaur.
They ate Spot from the Munsters.
Yeah.
Or Spike, whatever it was.
You know, you see the giant bones, and like you get that big lurch burp to start the scene, which is kind of funny, but
Goes on a tad too long, though, that burp.
yeah, because it just felt like it was time killer, because there was like nothing significant happened in the scene. You see them fighting over the wishbone, which is gigantic, and the kids are going through their candy, but they're upset that they were given candy because I don't know what they wanted, though. They didn't want raisins, but apparently it was bad to give them candy, too.
Yeah, like there's nothing that makes them happy.
They wanted those. They wanted apples with razor blades in them.
Yeah, and eyeballs and bullshit. And then it just kind of ends in a toast. And again, I just think waving off as the robbers are arrested and literally saying goodbye and waving was the perfect way to end it.
Would have been perfect, right?
Snap.
Snap.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the conclusion of the episode.
They're going to go to jail for 40 years. There's no way that Jerry Van Dyke's going to live to get out of jail from this one. He'll die in prison. Snap. That's how the episode should have ended.
So I don't have a lot more about the show. I can't remember, like I said, much about it. I remember seeing the show, but I don't really remember much. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to add about it.
No, my few facts I just sprinkled throughout the episode, so...
I mean, I will say I would love to see the director's cut of this, because I feel like the reason they had to do that final scene at the dinner table is because Jerry gave them so much. And they were like, some of this isn't going to fly, or some of this is weird, we have to cut it. And they realized they needed like another 30 seconds to fit the time for all the commercials and everything. And I would rather have 30 seconds more of Jerry Van Dyke jokes than that end scene.
There was like a minute at the end of the episode you could have cut. To me personally, that whole Night Before Christmas thing should have been cut.
Yeah.
I got one more fact, though. Actually, I just remembered it now. This show is still on in other countries. They still run their repeats.
Interesting.
That's kind of wild for how, I mean, it's a lot of episodes, but not a lot to like keep it going.
It's weird that it's like 25 years later. Yeah, and it's still like getting plays in other areas for sure.
So that means someone in another country doesn't know the original Addams Family song, and they just go snap.
Or that one's like the shitty
Just walk
version.
around going do 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 do.
Oh, Addams Family.
I will say, though, if anything else, this does make me want to go to bed tonight and watch Family Values, because that's a great Halloween movie that should be watched for everybody in October.
We gave Family Values a lot of credit, but the original one is pretty damn good, too.
Look, I like the original one a lot. I do think Family Values, though, is a lot better. But they're a great back-to-back. Speaking of a good movie marathon, watch 1 and 2 back-to-back. It's 3 hours. You'll be fine.
I don't consider that a marathon. I can do 2 movies.
2 movies in a row, if they're the same franchise, I consider a marathon. You watch Ghostbusters 1 and 2 in a row, the 2 good ones, that's good. And then you add the third Ghostbusters, the good one from like a year ago with the kid from...
The third Ghostbusters in 2016, yeah.
No, the third one, the good one from like a year ago. Afterlife, thank you, that. The good third Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters 2016.
That was a good movie, actually. I was surprised at how good it ended up being.
Afterlife was really good. I got very emotional when Egon had that. I was like looking at my wife being like, I'm fucking crying at a kid's Ghostbusters movie in 2021 or whatever, and I fucking can't handle it.
What kind of roller coaster of emotions did we send you through with our movie that we put out in 2016, though?
Betrayal, sadness, questioning my childhood.
I took a Dramamine. I was so sick. Get it?
With all that being said, I think we might as well close this out and get into the Greenlighter cancels. Order I see you guys in right now. Nick, starting with you.
Not even JVD could save this one. I was lost. I don't know if maybe it was because just my expectation versus reality with this show, but they were just so far off from each other. I thought it was, the only thing about it that I liked was it was, I guess, well acted, right? That wasn't the problem. I think it just really tried too hard. It didn't really know, like I said earlier, it didn't know what it wanted to be. Even though it exists in a very established universe already, they should have been able to figure out what they wanted to be. And they still just couldn't do. I was just like really, at halfway through this episode on the player, I sped it up to 1.5 speed. I was like, I'm going to blow my head off if I have to watch this at regular speed. It was really unwatchable. I did not enjoy this show at all. Hard cancel.
Joe.
I had a tough one with this. I went into this thinking I was going to hate this so hard so quickly. And then I was surprised that there was a few things that did tug at me. I did really get some nostalgia from it. I think visually more than anything. But again, remembering this time and like the Fox kids being 12 or 13 in 1998, I like horny Uncle Fester. I know you guys don't see that, but I think that's a fun take on it. But the best part of this episode is Jerry Van Dyke. Would you watch another episode? You're like, oh, well, I don't know because I have no idea what the dynamic is going to be for the next episode. I don't know what kind of adventures they're going to be in. Is this going to be based all on like character actor guest stars? And are they all going to be good? And I'm trying to, again, knock away the I'm not a kid thing. I had fun watching this, but I mean, I'm not going to put on another episode. I think if it was on in the background as a kid, I would have. But this episode was fun, but it's all the elements of it. I don't think the best parts of it would be in the next episode. And it's a weird thing, but I'm going to cancel it.
Berg.
So I agree with Joe on a lot. I had fun, and this show had a lot of nostalgia. I like the theme song. I think we're being a little hard on it because it was a kid's show, even with a few adult themes. That being said, I watched it as a kid a little bit, and I didn't stick with it. So I didn't like it then, so I'm not going to pass it now. So it's a cancel for me now just based on that experience. I don't think it's that bad of a show, and I respect that they're trying to bring the Addams Family to a next generation. But it wasn't for me. So cancel.
Gordo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna rock the boat here. From the second that I heard that awful theme song, that was a cancel right then and there. That was an abomination. I think Nick said it, that there is an established universe. Why wouldn't you just use the same fucking song? I didn't like the jump cuts. About 5 minutes into this, I was like, what the hell is this? And again, I took the kid show aspect out of it. Like, I just watched it as an adult, like not even thinking, hey, this is a kid show. It might not be made for me. It just wasn't good. All around, just was not good. I kept finding myself pausing it going, oh God, 20 more minutes, 17 more minutes, 15, and so forth and so on. And because of that reason, I got to cancel. Snap, snap.
Listen, I wanted to message you guys. I first watched this like 2 or 3 days ago, and I was going to text you guys that I've never been so conflicted on how I wanted to vote on something. And it really did it ate at me for a little bit. I just couldn't figure out which direction to look at it from. And then today, rewatching it and like doing my notes, I like watched it with a little bit of a tighter eye. And that's when I just decided like I couldn't pass this because, again, like Nick, one of the things you gave it credit for was the acting. And then I just don't think the acting was that great. I think they'd had a couple moments. Like the best acting was from Jerry Van Dyke, who's not going to be back. And then I thought the girl who played Wednesday did a good job. But then, like I said, the two main characters, when you look at Gomez and Morticia, they're basically just doing impersonations of other people who already played the roles. So they didn't bring a lot to it. It was a little frantic, a little back and forth. Obviously, it's made for kids. So, like, I got to give them a little bit there, but...
Is it, though? We talked about how very not
it was
PG
on
it
Fox
was
Kids.
sometimes.
It's Fox Family.
Yeah, I think by its placement on being Fox Family, it's for kids. It was on the morning, too.
Okay.
It was definitely meant more for kids, but I think when you look at the show as a whole, it didn't quite figure out what it was supposed to be. It knew the source material and tried to replicate it, but didn't quite understand it. And like I said, when you're talking about like the innocent couple being shocked, I was like, that's not what they're supposed, like that's too much. When you murder a child because he stole candy, that seemed a little extreme for the show. It's fun when it's turned around and when it's them who want to be tortured. When they're doing like evil things, it even though it's like done in a silly way, it didn't sit right with me. I'm gonna have to cancel it too. So with that being said, sorry to the new Addams Family. Yeah, I really didn't think it was gonna go this way, but a 0 out of 5.
I was conflicted like you were.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a bad show necessarily, but just not good enough.
We left Addams Family in the lurch, am I right?
Flush that shitcom.
with that, we get to the conclusion of our third annual, I didn't even say it at the beginning because I forgot, spooky, dooky, Halloween, spectacular, October month.
Leslie Nielsen Remembrance Month.
So 12 episodes down in that realm over the 3 years. Can't believe we've actually completed 3 full years of that at this point.
We've got more for next year, baby.
That's crazy.
4 more
isn't
for
it?
next
3
year.
full years.
Yeah. So we'll catch you.
Wait, real quick before you finalize it, what was the last show we all fully canceled? 'Cause I just found it, but what do you think it is?
Was it not recently? Because I feel like we did some bad ones recently.
It was a while ago. It was in April.
I'm fried. I can't.
I wouldn't have got this, by the way, at all.
I got nothing. I got
Blossom.
Give it to me. Blossom?
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even
Whoa.
remember canceling Blossom.
Blossom, yeah. I mean, well, listen to everyone. Go back. If you want to go back and listen, we covered Blossom a while ago, and obviously, according to Nick, we gave it 0 out of 5.
I thought Jay greenlit that one, though. He's a huge Joey Lawrence fan. I know for a fact he owns
Whoa.
a Joey Lawrence record
Joey
with a
Lawrence
poster.
wasn't in that.
Yeah.
He wasn't in that.
Yes, he
Or
was.
no, don't start
Oh.
this again.
All right, we're wrapping up. We
Yeah,
can't
listen,
go
yeah.
on
In
one
that
of
episode,
these.
we discover Gordon doesn't know who Joey Lawrence is, and after covering Blossom, apparently still doesn't know who he is. But with that being said, go listen to that show. Go listen to all the old shows if you haven't listened to them already. Thank you for everybody who's been listening to us lately, messaging us. Again, follow us, S1E1 Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or now X. S1E1pod.com has all the links to everywhere you can listen to us, our socials, our email, all that stuff. Contact us however you'd like. If you send us a 5-star review on Apple, send us proof. We'll follow you back on any social media that you want. And that's it, man. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you again next week with another new episode. Until then, take care. Thank you. Goodbye.
And no, we got the best friends of Eddie Quayle, you fucking savages.
Snap, snap.